You're sick. Nothing serious. A headache. Maybe a fever. You walk into a pharmacy, hand over a few dollars, and walk out with a small box of pills. You trust it. Why wouldn't you? It has a label, a batch number, a manufacturer's name printed right there on the packaging. You take it, and it doesn't work. Maybe you feel nothing. Maybe you feel worse. And you'll never know why. Because the pill you just swallowed was never real. This is not a rare story. The World Health Organization estimates that 1 in 10 medicines in low and middle-income countries is either fake or substandard. 1 in 10. That's not a rounding error. That's a supply chain that has been quietly infiltrated, at scale, for decades. Counterfeit medicine is a $200 billion industry, more profitable than cocaine trafficking in some markets. Lower risk, harder to trace, and almost impossible to detect with the naked eye. Because a fake pill looks exactly like a real one. Here's how it works. Somewhere, there's a factory. No regulators. No inspections. Workers pressing chalk, flour, or worse, toxic industrial fillers into pill-shaped molds. Sometimes there's a tiny trace of the real active ingredient, just enough so the medicine seems to do something. Sometimes there's nothing at all, and sometimes what's inside is actively dangerous. Malaria pills with zero active ingredient. Antibiotics that don't kill the infection, but train the bacteria to become resistant to future treatment. Cancer drugs diluted so far they're essentially water. These aren't hypothetical scenarios. They've been found, seized, documented, published in medical journals, and they keep coming back. So why can't anyone stop it? That's the question. And the answer is the part nobody says out loud. Because stopping it completely would require something that several very powerful industries have been quietly, consistently, lobbying against for years. Let's start with pharmaceutical companies. Real medicine is expensive. The patents, the research, the clinical trials, all of that cost eventually lands on you. When counterfeits undercut those prices, it creates an uncomfortable conversation about why legitimate medicine costs so much in the first place. Pharmaceutical companies don't want that conversation. So they want the counterfeit problem to stay where it mostly lives, in developing markets. Contained, quiet, far from the customers who pay full price. And largely, that's exactly where it stays. Then there's customs. Every day, millions of packages cross international borders. Customs agencies are understaffed, underfunded, and completely overwhelmed by volume. A single Interpol operation in 2019 seized over 110 million fake medical products across just a handful of countries. One operation, 110 million units. Think about what's moving on the days nobody is running an operation. And then there's the network itself. The counterfeit drug supply chain doesn't survive on luck. It survives on relationships. Corrupt port officials who look away for the right price. Middlemen moving product through legitimate wholesale distributors. Pharmacies, sometimes unknowingly, sometimes not, stocking whatever comes in cheapest. The fake pill doesn't teleport from an underground lab to your neighborhood pharmacy. It travels through a system, a real, functioning system, with real people at every checkpoint making a calculated decision to let it pass. Now here's where it touches you directly. Even if you live somewhere with strong drug regulations, the global counterfeit network creates pressure on supply chains everywhere. The raw ingredients inside your medicine, the active pharmaceutical ingredients, are largely manufactured in China and India. When those upstream supply chains are compromised, the contamination doesn't stay neatly contained to poor countries. It moves. It travels through the same global logistics networks that move everything else. It ends up in places nobody expected. And here's what makes this truly hard to accept. The tools to fix this already exist. Track and trace technology. Serialization systems that give every single pill a unique digital fingerprint. Blockchain verification. Rapid field testing kits that can identify a fake in under a minute. These aren't experimental ideas. They work. Several countries have already implemented them successfully. But full global implementation would cost the industry billions in infrastructure and compliance. So the rollout stays slow. Regulations stay optional in too many markets. The gap stays open, and the money keeps moving. The WHO estimates that substandard and falsified medicines cause approximately 500,000 deaths every year, just from fake malaria and tuberculosis treatments alone. 500,000 people. Every year. And the system that could stop it moves slower than the system profiting from it. So the next time you open a box of medicine, look at it a little differently. Not with paranoia, but with the understanding that the pill in your hand traveled through a global supply chain. And that chain has cracks. Cracks that powerful people have looked at, calculated the cost of fixing, and decided are acceptable. Because the people dying from those cracks are usually too far away and too poor to be a problem worth solving urgently.